Okay.
Okay.
It says we're live. Aren't we fancy? Hello, everybody. Welcome back to AI Hotline Podcast. I'm Tracy Gunn. I'm one of the many of us. Everybody, welcome. Hello, everybody. Nice to see everybody. Happy July.
Happy July.
Happy
July.
All right. So we have Will and Jamie and Heather and April. And together we do our little chats about AI every week. And we're super glad that you're here to pay attention and to learn with us and hopefully subscribe and comment. So thank you so much for joining us. Tonight, I think what we're going to do is we're going to stay on task. We're going to stay on topic, which is really hard for me personally. But we are going to talk about the effects of AI and maybe society, on families, on job market, on psychology, all of those things. So we thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about not all the tech, not all of the new things that are coming out all the time, but maybe even AI burnout. So that was, I think that was one of us mentioned that. I will not call anybody out. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. About what do we think about this? Is it even a thing? The psychology behind that. I mean, first of all, did you all know? You all probably know, but that AI is programmed to be your friend, right? Like it's programmed to give you compliments, to tell you you're doing good, even if you're doing a crap job. It's like, great job, Tracy. It tells me all the time. And I'm like, you're lying to me. But, that's kind of the idea, is to kind of make it your friend. And even Mark Zuckerberg has talked about how they're going to utilize AI to make Facebook your best friend, right? And so replace people with AI. So that is kind of what I'm throwing down the gauntlet. That's kind of what I would love to talk about and see what everybody thinks. Was I stuck? Shoot.
You're kind of back.
Damn it.
There we go. We got you back.
I'm back?
You're back.
No? Damn it. Am I
You're
back?
there.
I'm back.
You are.
It was not meant to be. The world did not want to hear what I had to say, and that's okay. So anyway, I'm back. We're just talking about the impact of AI on society, on relationships, on our psyche, on the workforce, all those kind of things. So what do you guys think? Where do you want to start? Anybody? Nobody has anything to say.
Sure. Yeah, I'd like to talk about like how much faster AI is helping me go in my daily life. And so like I get somebody coming to me asking me something and like, oh yeah, that's totally doable. Whereas like a year or two ago, like it would not have been doable. Like just today, Will and I had somebody come up to us and be like, oh, we want to build this. And I looked at the like capabilities of the systems he's wanted to build it in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is doable. And it'd actually be pretty easy. But it's almost hard to picture like what the scope of the work is, because things are becoming easier, but at the same time they're also becoming harder to finish that last little piece. And so it's very interesting, like the dichotomy of the easier and the harder, because then your brain becomes used to the easier. And so like I read an article today about just burnout of people like using AI more. And I think that applies to me as well, because I'm taking on these projects. It's like, oh yeah, this could be easy. And it's like 95% easy, but then 5% like super, super hard. Mm-hmm. And it makes me feel like I'm going so fast that I'm almost in a hamster wheel, so that it makes me feel like I'm burnout of what I'm doing in my everyday life, just because I'm going so fast.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
I could totally relate to that.
Go ahead. Yeah. No, go ahead, April.
Oh yeah. So I feel similarly. I I feel like it's AI fatigue in some way, similar to where I got this way with like all the supplements that I take. I'm like, oh, I'll take this for that and this for that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have supplement fatigue. Like you feel like you're, getting so much quick, like I'm getting so much closer to, getting all of my, vitamins and minerals and all that stuff. But then with the AI, it's like, there's a new capability that's constantly being rolled out. Everything is kind of like earth shattering. It's happening at neck break speed. And you can accomplish things more quickly. But then at the same time, like I have a hard time unplugging and relaxing because I'm like, I've leveraged all of this AI power to get all of these things done so quickly. But then when it comes time for me to unplug, then it's actually kind of worse sometimes because then I feel super unproductive because I'm like overly productive when I am plugged in. So I started to notice that and have a bit of the like kind of fatigue feelings around it. But I don't know. It's definitely something to be aware of and be mindful of because it can contribute to some unexpected lingering stress.
I read something
So wait, I don't
today.
know. Were you going to say something at the same time?
I read something today
Sorry.
about that most of the things we do every day didn't exist 20 years ago. So, like, internet, email, iPhone, scrolling, Facebook, so like our whole lives are so different than just 20 years ago. And what does that mean? And what does that mean for relationships or whatever? And because it's very easy, I think this other statistic talked about that the men under 30 that like this ridiculous, like, I don't know, 60% are not dating at all. Like, it's a huge number because they're home on their games, right? They're not, everything's virtual. And like, what happens when we stop kind of connecting in person, right? When the little boxes on the screen are like not real, like, or that's the only thing that's real, like how interesting that is.
Yeah. I mean, Heather knows she's done a lot of game development. Do
Mhm.
you can see how that could certainly be possible?
Oh yeah, for sure. I actually read an article today where there is an AI game engine that's coming out, which is craziness because I've done everything from scratch. I know there's a couple like game engines like Unreal and I forget the other big one, but that allows you to pull in all these assets that are in place and just be able to plug and play and build your own world. But if you add an AI as a layer on top of it, that's craziness. Like
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna go. Like I was just researching topics for tonight, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to go and dig in deeper to this.
There's an article I read earlier or listened to earlier, and back to the relationships that you were talking about, Tracy. They're saying that the introvert type children in school are using AI as their friends, and
Mm,
it's keeping them from having the anxiety and the fighting and everything like that in the schools. But the
hmm,
schools are trying to take the AI out of the school,
mm,
which is then taking their friends away. So they're going from having what they consider a normal life,
mhm.
and basically it's taking the friends away from them. And it's a big controversy that's going on, and now they're trying to switch that around.
Oh, that
Don't
sounds
you
like a
think?
big conversation. That's interesting to think about, like from all perspectives, because you, I could imagine how that could help with building confidence and self-esteem and feeling heard because a lot of children just feel like, they're not heard or they just if even if they do speak, who's going to listen? So, think about the kid who is not talkative or is too shy. Like that, I feel like that could possibly help them in some aspects, but then there's that balance of when are they over reliant on it. And so, like I could see, you
Sorry.
know, kind of arguments on both sides on why to keep it and why to maybe
Yeah.
dial it back some. I
Do you
didn't think
remember?
about that.
And part of what they're trying to do is they're trying to say the kids are cheating using AI to advance in school. And they're fighting
Mm,
against that, saying that the kids feel more normal and they're actually paying attention and doing their work because they feel like they fit in, and they're not using the AI to replace what they're learning. They're using the AI to advance what they're learning.
Yeah.
And they're being smarter than everyone else in the classes because they're using their brain plus the AI rather than using the AI to replace their brain.
My kid did that. Colin did that. My youngest.
Right.
It was even before ChatGPT came out. He was using Quillbot to, rephrase some of some of his project work, so he didn't have to like retype it or, you know what I mean. It was just like he's used it a lot. He's leveraged technology a lot, and that's basically how he passed high school. But I did ask him. I'm like, "Are you actually learning anything?" And he goes, "Well, yeah, because when they rephrase it and when I have to go in and make it sound like me, again, there were no AI detectors or anything like that. It was just like a Quillbot that was kind of like a Grammarly, like a enhanced Grammarly." And so he was like, "Yeah," he goes, "because my teacher would know that it was if I didn't make it sound like me. So I had to go back and actually read it and make it sound like me so it didn't look like I had my mom did my homework. I had my mom do my homework." And so I was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense."
But you think
So I
about
guess
that,
it depends.
like, will you think about even just, when kids are in the car and they're on the tablet, like it was a big deal. Like when we grew up, it was like you had to look out the window. There was nothing to watch, right? And then they made it, and now they have like everyone has their own phone or whatever, or little babies at the restaurant who have like a little tablet in front of them. My granddaughter, who's 3, can call me on her iPhone, on,
Mm-hmm.
well, not her iPhone, her mother's iPhone. And so I know it's her calling because she's silent. But like, but my point is, like, is there a place where we stop learning because we don't have to? Do we stop being creative because we don't have to, right? Or someone said something about like Google Maps. Like people don't know how to read a map because Google Maps help, right? And they don't remember how to get anywhere because they just plug it in. Like all of those kind of
Or
things
anyone's
that are
phone number.
skills. Yeah, oh my gosh. I know most of my children's. I don't know my daughter's. I just push the button.
I don't.
Isn't that
I
crazy?
don't think I know any child.
Anyone
Yeah.
remember their
I
childhood phone
honestly,
number? I do.
I
Like,
disagree. I think that AI helps us to go faster, but there still needs to be that layer of creativity to where you get to the final product. So, like, whenever I'm doing AI prompts, I usually start really generalized and it helps me in my thinking process.
mhm.
So, like, I don't even like April's the prompt queen. Like she will go and she will over engineer a prompt and feed it into a model. I'm the opposite. I go like super generalized because I want that process of being able to refine it throughout because it helps me with my creativity. And I think AI is a tool to help enhance and elevate our creativity as human beings to be able to achieve a much better final product. And that goes for business owners, that goes for students, that goes for artists, that goes for anybody who's trying to be creative. It just elevates everything. So, whenever we're talking about going into AI and like students learning AI, it's like they just have to learn to coexist with it and to help it elevate their own brain so that they can compete in the market where it's like an AI elevated product.
Well, that's a
Yeah, I
mindset.
agree. I mean, yeah. And I think it's great that and I love that the AI will kind of meet you where you're at. And as long as you participate. So for me, I'm trying to think of like all of the things. And I think it just comes from having so many years of being a headhunter and trying to dial in my search strings, which are essentially just Boolean search strings. So I don't have to like look at a million candidates that I don't need to look at. Right. So that's just me just trying to think like end to end. What do I want this to, be? What do I want it to, give me back in return? And so what's great about AI is whether you over engineer it like me or whether you start simple and like to expand through the conversation of the prompts, you're still able to have that element of creativity and then arrive at a spot to where it's productive and it's meaningful and it still lets you like think critically because you're like that output isn't quite right and think why or why not and you're still asking yourself how can I make this better? And just trying to rework it and learn with, I think it does like exercise your brain a bit, right? I don't think it makes anybody like mush or dumb or not as smart. I actually think it sparks new ideas. And for the people who have a lot of ideas, I know Heather and I have a lot of ideas. So for us it's almost a little bit dangerous because we'll be like, oh my gosh, and then our ideas and everything just gets bigger and bigger, and the stuff we want to accomplish, just the scope just gets larger and larger. And so for somebody like Heather and I, we just constantly have to recalibrate and just be like, okay, we're focused on this. All of that stuff is cool, but it's also good to consider those other things because it might be a better course. So you have to like check it out real quick because it just might be a better idea. So
Well, I
I don't
think
know.
too,
I
though,
think it's good
I mean,
to
we're
reflect.
all over 20 years old. Some of us more than double. But anyway, but we grew up differently than maybe the 20-year-olds now, or my grandson, or your grandchildren. Like what they're going to experience, or as someone who hires teenagers who don't know the difference between a nickel and a quarter, right? That's not necessarily creativity, that's life skills. Now, again, the end result may be there is no cash. That is an end result. Like a lot of places are going cashless, or they're just rounding up, or they're just, or all of my staff, like, I don't do change. That's their attitude. Like, I don't do change. I'm like, there's a quarter on the floor. They don't pick it up. It's just, but it's just very different um, than the way that I grew up. And it's interesting just to see how different the way they think about things, right? Because they also, like, again, I'm from the DOS, like where you were, copy star dot star, right? Jamie, you can relate to that, probably April too. But like, and so for a long time, I didn't understand how to make the mouse do the thing, right? Because I wasn't used to that. And so, and then you're worried about breaking things. And then, this younger generation, they're not worried about breaking anything. They're just do, 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 do. And they adapt much faster. And so they have so much advantage over us, overthinking. Um, and I think it can be creative, but I think it's also a mindset about, is this going to replace nature? Is this going to replace the way that I exercise or play for people who are not meeting other people? Like some of that, like what Jamie was talking about, those are life skills. Yes, it sucked to get bullied, but there's some element of school where you're learning how to problem solve. Not always well, but there is an
Right.
element of that, right? Or how to make friends, how to acclimate to a group, how to listen to others and negotiate and that kind of things. And I think, again, it's just a thought is that, do they do that? You know, I don't know. It's very interesting. It's just very different.
Well, all of my kids are out of school. So, Jamie, I'd be interested to hear because how old's Lucas? 6?
He'll be 6 next week.
So, how do you feel about him having AI in school?
Um, he uses it to a point now, even though he doesn't know how to use it. And he actually said to me his last couple of weeks of school, he was like, because I was like, "What did you learn today?" He goes, "I don't learn anything until I get home." I'm
Wow.
like, "What?" He goes, "Well, we have fun and we play at school, but I get to learn when I get home." And then he takes his tablet and he walks away. And like, I want to take his tablet away, but everything he learns is on his tablet.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's
True.
interesting.
So it's like it's hard to explain, but like he uses it. He'll search things, he'll find things, and if he can't pronounce something, he'll try pronouncing it. It'll come back with a correct pronunciation. And it's not that he's always in ChatGPT or something like that. A lot of times it's just using YouTube or Google or something where he's doing a search, or even Siri or Alexa, and he's finding those things and pulling it back. And he's just advancing more and more because the information is right there and available for him.
Do you think he'd be stressed out if he didn't have it?
Yes. Well,
Mm.
he's very good with. He will stop. He goes plays with Legos. He will. Um, he'll research something, then find something in say a YouTube video, and then he'll stop and he'll go over and create it and build it, and whether it's out of cardboard, out of Legos, or draw it, or so. Like, it's not that he just lives on his tablet. I still think he's on it too often, but he stops by himself and does something that's recreational as well and ties it in a bigger picture.
Yeah.
That falls back to something you said a minute ago. On the same podcast I was watching, two things that you said, but it's there's a large percentage of people, especially after COVID or during COVID and working from home, that they were using AI so they could work an hour a day. So it's like, hey, let me just use AI to do my job, and I got to work an hour instead of 8. And our brains don't work that way, but a lot of people's do. And there are a lot of those people are the ones losing their job to AI today. And they're saying that 70% of jobs will go away. Today's jobs will go away based on AI. So AI will take them over. But the same different thinking type of person is going to say, hey, I just saved 7 hours of my day. I can be more productive and use my mind to do other things and do bigger, better things rather than just replacing what I did in an hour. So I think a lot of it just has to do with how does your brain work and what do you want to do and what do you want to get out of it.
Well, mindset and whether you're like, not everyone's motivated. Not everybody. There was a saying about entrepreneurs, right? And you think, oh, I'm doing this thing and I'm competing against the whole world. And I think it was Russell Brunson, but he just said, you're not competing against the whole world. You're competing against like 1%, because most of the world is not entrepreneur, right? This idea, most are just workers, not entrepreneurs, or not they're creators in different ways maybe, but that we have kind of, at least in our country, for the last 50, 60 years, it's all about, like, you go to school, you sit at your desk, right? It's an 8-hour day, right? That is not necessarily the way it always was. And so there's some conditioning there about working your 8-hour day and being groomed to be in your office, so to say, right? Sit in your desk, that kind of stuff. And the implications of that are interesting. We'll just say that. But and why some people are more apt to go out on their own, whereas others prefer security of working for people, right? I don't know, but I think it's really interesting. And Jamie mentioned something like, again, we keep in mind too, 5 years ago, the whole world shut down and we never thought that would happen. I mean, I had 2 restaurants at the time and I was like, they're never going to shut us down. Forget it. And then boom, it happened like 5 o'clock on March 16th. And I was like, holy cow. Like, so then, and then everybody stayed home. Nobody wanted to, like, remember we were washing our groceries and our Amazon shipments and all that stuff, keeping in the garage. But we definitely took a step back from people, from society. And I don't know that it's different. I don't know that it's gotten 100% back. I still see people in masks, a little bit more reserved, or more like a Zoom became normalized. We don't have to go in person. We'll just do a Zoom call, right? So it's just like, and again, we all just got back from, being together. People are different than when you see them on the screen. They're so different in person. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
I can't even recognize them.
I thought you were taller. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
5'4".
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I just think it's really funny because, like, you have, or Pat from Atlanta, I thought he was going to be tall, and he is not tall at all.
No,
But
he
like,
is not. He is my height.
he's not tall at all. And I'm 5'10", so I thought he was going to tower over me, and I was like, nope. So it's just funny. I mean, it's different through a screen. It's different. That's all. And the idea that somebody told me today that somebody that chat is their best friend. They tell it all their fears, all their thoughts. I actually built a project that's my prayer list, and I pray but I have to have a thought process in my head of like, okay, I'm not praying to you. I'm praying and you're recording me and giving me scriptures back based on what I'm saying. Like I trained it to do that because I was fearful, like, because you're talking to it. It's like a person. It's responding like a person. And this kind of trick in your head, like somebody said, like, oh, we love our cars and we give them names, and when it gets like a nick, like we're sad about it, or animals we've personified and all these things, right? I was like, oh my gosh. So, but chat can be your best friend. I mean, it's set up to do that, just like TikTok is set up to keep you on there for hours and rob you of all your time.
Oh,
The quickest way to lose
sure.
2 hours
Well,
is
Heather, yeah, it is. It is. So that, I mean, listening to all these scenarios, I'm thinking like it's in school, it's in work, and then whether you're an employer or an employee or you're an entrepreneur. So Heather and I do the 2-day in-person workshops, and now I'm thinking, and I'd love to hear your ideas if you want to share it out loud, Heather, is what do you think about us having a section of addressing a little bit of this? Like, should we address the psychology of even because we're meeting people where they're at. Some of them don't have any AI literacy at all, and some of them are there a little bit. That could be something that'd be a great addition, and people might want to consider adding that to their maybe their handbook or something. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I guess it's a pro or a con on the psychology thing because you can get so deep into it. Like, I've been a little stressed out on some different things, and so I've taken like the little voice mode of ChatGPT, and he's like this super like nice guy voice. I'm just like chatting away all of my worries to him, and he's responding like, "Oh yeah, that's gonna be fine. Here's some ideas," and I'm like, okay, like I don't want to like burden everybody else because I've already like talked their ear off. So let me just go to ChatGPT. And so I think like maybe give it like educating people on like how it can come to that once they get into the AI world because it is like it could be a problem if you rely on it too much, but it could also be a benefit. So it's really like what side of the fence are you on?
Mm-hmm.
like anything,
Yeah.
moderation, right? I mean, or just or the fears. I don't know. I think you guys should talk about, like, people are scared of AI. There's a lot of people that are scared of what it will do or what it can do, and so this is something that's valid for a lot of people, or they're delusional and
Yeah.
like it's not a big deal. I'll never lose my job. Everything's going to be fine. Okay, sure.
I
Sure.
will say that I do game dev and I've made a little bit of a reference to how I'm using AI. And I've had such a backlash on that because people are like, they're thinking AI is evil and they're thinking that AI is going to make it unauthentic
Mm,
because it is a very authentic game that we've built just through the world building and through the
mhm,
art assets and everything. It's a 2D game that pulls people in through this fake world that's already been built through programming and artwork, but they're just afraid that AI will just make it this
mhm,
different place. And I'm like, no, I'm not even using it for that. I'm using it to analyze the code just for debugging it because I'm having such a hard time of going across 10 different files to find the cause of these issues that you guys are reporting. And so they don't seem to understand that that is like the box that I'm putting AI in for game dev, and they're just afraid it's going to take over. And it's wild to come across this whenever like I've been in AI for a little while now, and it's so weird to meet resistance on that front.
Especially in a tech setting,
yeah.
right? Or in a group that's like very tech forward because they're programmers, they're developers. And so and I feel like some of that resistance is certainly they of course they don't want it to take over. But then there's also, and it reminds me of a time back in, the financial crisis of 2000 and like 7, 8 ish. A lot
Mhm,
of people got laid off, right? And so one of the first things that I did is I went and I started teaching free job clubs to help people, just get ready for interviews and, just do their LinkedIn. But what I realized was, is I'm in a room full of executives because it was a lot of middle management and like executive level because they were just getting rid of the the bloated salaries. So all of these really professional people, and we're in this room, and I'm like, hey, does everybody have a profile pic that they'd like to use? If you don't, just make sure that they can see you. It's not your whole body, all the traditional things. And then I quickly realized when it came to start like crafting how they're going to position themselves, or when I was like, hey, think of your top 3 accomplishments that you definitely want to make sure that you communicate in your interview and helping them through that. There was actually an emotional upheaval because of all the fear and the loss around the job that we actually had to deal with that first. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of reminds me of here at this point around AI, there's a lot of fear and people are afraid they're going to lose their job. So it's kind of a similar like emotional upheaval that people have to maybe process and deal with a little bit. And it sounds like there's probably an opportunity for people who, maybe specialize in that kind of thing. There's a huge opportunity to either disarm people or reduce some stress or just kind of offer some psychological support or some type of support to help them through that. And I think some of that is just through education and understanding what AI is, because a lot of people are still completely mystified. Like they kind of get it and they're not sure if it's like just some invisible robot that's going to come take over the world, or they don't necessarily understand, how it works and where it fits in and how you can actually leverage it, and you get to choose. They're your ideas. It's just
Yeah.
making things more I don't know, it's just like a nice little assistant. So
Or it can completely take over your business, because April and I have both had people come up to us and be like, "Hey, I want to like completely automate my business, build in an AI layer, like just AI my business, and I don't want to be in it anymore." And that's like at
really,
this point in time, it's not really possible. But it's interesting to hear their requests and like think through it. And it's like, okay, is it actually possible? And it's like, no, you'd still have to be involved here, here, and here. But it's not completely automated. Like you can take a lot off your plate, but you can't just step away from a business and expect it to operate like it would whenever you were in it.
yeah.
That
I
was
bet
part
you
of
get
the
those
podcast.
requests, Jamie.
Yeah, part of the podcast I had earlier was, or listened to earlier, was same type thing. And one of the main thing they're saying is people now have to rewrite the way businesses are laid out. So a business can run fully on AI, but it can't run in the way that they run today fully on AI.
You have to adjust it.
So if the structures change and things of that
Yeah.
happen different, there is ways to set the business up for it to work, but not the normal businesses that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's
Exactly.
kind of what I did with
I
my
mean, it is.
candy store, redoing it, like getting rid of the pieces that were painful that didn't work, right? And slimming it down. And that's what is required for a business, right? If you want to make it slim down and straightforward and AI run, you have to get rid of the things that won't work with that. And the fluff, honestly. I mean, when you do it a long time, you probably know what those pieces are. Um, but
And last week I was on Kevin Cho's podcast, and the thing that he said to me is exactly what you said, Heather. He said, I thought I could just AI everything and have no humans. And I said, do you really want to work with no humans? Like, it's, I mean, and I don't think that he doesn't want to work with humans, but it was like, he was like, I thought, and he made some efforts towards doing that and realized that it's just not that easy. And to your point earlier, Heather, like we'll go and we'll build things, and then it's like so much of it's done, you're like, oh my gosh, just another couple hours and bam. No, it's like days or weeks. Like it depends on, how there, because there's a lot of like just hooking things in and making things work, and then just making sure that end to end that it's reliable and that it's stable, and because you don't want to share something that's not reliable or stable because you don't want to have to clean up a big mess. And so it is just a lot of there's a lot of perceptions that you could just plug in all these things. And that's one thing that people also realize when they work with us is and you too, Jamie, I'm sure and you, Tracy, I know you do a lot of like AI educate and putting AI in your business.
mhm.
It's like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful, this is going to save all of this time. And then you're like, um if it worked, all right, like
When
if
it
I could
works,
get it
because
to finally do the thing.
right. Well, but
Yeah.
that's technology, right? Like my point of sale is amazing when it works, but when the internet goes down and I can't run credit cards, people are pissed. I mean, there are humans involved. And, we are dependent on technology. We are dependent. It's like we've been trained, even like set aside even AI, but this, Amazon culture. Like I had a bad review. I shipped somebody fudge. He didn't like how it arrived. So I resent it to him in two different boxes and he gave me a second bad review. And he's like, don't order from, I'm just like, okay, dude. Like, but here's the thing. They're so used to Amazon getting it there that day, unless you're in New Hampshire where it still takes 2 or 3 days. But like, even sometimes in hours, and that if you have any complaint, they completely credit you or give you your money back. This whole mentality, but like, it's trained people to have that kind of expectations, like as if I'm in charge of the post office delivering. So I put a question like, well, I question who your postman is because twice it arrived badly. Like, I question your postman, not me. It's a shame I'm not in charge. Like, but I mean, that was my snarkiness. But like, I don't know. We have expectations for things to work. Like, I am the only internet user in my house right now, and yet my internet keeps sucking. I don't expect that to be right. Close all the windows, close all the things. I keep freezing, whatever. So we expect it to work. It should work, right? So I don't know. It's a fascinating time to be alive, and I feel like it's the most fascinating time to be in business for the things you guys talk about, right? Um, we're not there yet, like AI, the whole thing, but you can AI a lot. You sure can. If you're willing to spend the money. If I could replace my teenagers, I sure would. I want a robot.
I think a lot of it just comes back to education, like you said. Because if you don't know anything about AI, it's like this mystery box. And it's like you can just wrap your business in this mystery box and it'll just run without you. But really just educating yourself on AI, learning like, okay, what are the different models? What can they actually do for your business?
Mhm.
What is the input and the output? And like how can you do I hear an ocean?
Yeah, it sounds like really loud. Is it Jamie with
Not.
a
I don't
fan?
think it's
I don't
me.
have,
Well,
I don't have
Jamie's
anything
lit
here.
up. He's lit up like it's a.
Okay, it stopped.
Okay,
It's
stop.
either it's Jamie with a fan or he's unwrapping a protein bar or something.
There you go.
That's what
Okay,
he did last time. All the wrappers.
now that the ocean sound has stopped, I
I,
was like,
I
am
don't
I?
have a fan running either, so I don't
That
know.
is relaxing though. The ambient noise.
But there's no,
Yeah,
it's quiet. Like, I don't know. Where's the noise coming from?
Mm-mm.
Is it still there?
No, you're
so
good.
Go ahead, Heather.
yeah, just like understanding what AI is and educating yourself on it more will help you understand like how to plug it in. Like April and I are going to be if you're in the Pace Marby's communities. We're going to be hosting a semester next month. We're super excited about it, but we're going to be teaching a lot about layering on top of your business. So, like, not starting, like, going from, oh, I'm working on paper, I'm working on Google Spreadsheets, to completely automating or completely AIing all of that, like, right off the jump. No, there's layers to it. And so, we're going off of the stack principle, which is definitely a made up term. It's definitely something we made up, but it explains everything. So it's systems, team, automations, cognition, which is AI, and then to keep scaling and to go about it in that order, because that would just help you be more successful. So I just wanted to bring that point back in as we're talking about like educating yourself with AI. Like learn automations first, because automations has been around for 15 or so, like at least 15 years of like all these different tools that you can do, so you can piece together all of your workflows and then think about AI and not try to AI your whole business 100%, step away and go off on an island somewhere without internet connection. No, like you got to start from with baby steps.
And when
Yeah.
you say it goes back, and like when you really think about automation, in an Apple IIc back way in the day, I was building Pong type games, and you were automating a ball going from one side of the screen to the other.
Mm.
So like automations have been around a long time, but they're just getting more advanced and more advanced and more advanced. And now they say it's um, the skill level of the AI and the automations that are happening now are doubling every, I think, 17 or 20 days is doubling in the power. Because now, with human help, AI is doubling faster for the fact that we can program and build and do everything quicker than what we were doing before, which is now speeding up the amplification of it growing quicker and getting smarter quicker.
Yeah,
Well,
I was just I was just looking up, sorry, how old automate or like how when automation was like invented, because I feel like automation is the OG magic wand. Everybody was like, automation makes everything feel like stuff happens, silent in the background, and all these things are just being sent and done. And so it looks like the 1950s, and then
mhm,
it really became popular in the early 2000s.
But you got to think about the mass adoption of it, because really
Oh
that
yeah.
started with Zapier.
Mhm.
Zapier is like the first and foremost like godfather of automation.
Mhm.
And I think that was around 2010 or so. So that's
mhm,
whenever it became like available to the masses and anybody could do it.
mhm.
Otherwise, it would have to be a programmer that came in and actually built that for your business.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Think about even just
But
Well,
your
I think that
phone.
goes to play, though, if you go back to the 1950s,
Yeah.
and in the 50s, how fast was that system doubling? Like, when did it double then
10
compared to
years.
how fast it's doubling now? And it's like so quick.
Claude is still searching resources and counting to give me an accurate answer. It's a big question, apparently, because it's still thinking. Claude's still working on it.
Did you even go in
My
deep
great
research?
my
I
great
don't even think I
grandmother
did.
used to do
No.
bookkeeping in New York City, and with the first computers with like all the punches, you know, she would get the stack and put them in, and that's how she
Yeah.
did payroll in the 60s. And that was like a big deal. Like, it was in Manhattan, but like,
Oh,
it was like
yeah. That was a
a
huge
village deal.
deal.
It was like a big deal. And I mean, but even if you think about our phones, right? How, you know, all that it can do, it's a computer in your pocket. I mean, and then you attach that to chat or whatever. I mean, there's not much you can't do with your phone. How often do you not have your phone on you? All of that stuff. It's just very, it's become very interwoven into our lives. And so we have a tree house up in New Hampshire, and people come, and some of them come because they want to be in the quiet. They started during COVID when they wanted to get out of Boston and stuff like that. But this idea of being in there where you actually see all the stars and you don't have street lights, like it's just very quiet. We actually have fiber because we live there too, so we want fiber. But there's no TV or no. They're like, now some people come and they're like, "You don't have a TV," and I'm thinking, "You're in a treehouse. Hello." I mean, no, we don't have a TV out there. I mean, you can watch on your iPhone. I mean, but like, but some people are doing that just to be separate from it. That how far you have to go to be separate from all of that stuff. Um, I don't know. I'm not. I'm certainly not a purist. I mean, if I could hire robots or buy robots, I would. It's modern day slavery, I'm sure. But like because they would be consistent. The experience would be consistent. They would show up every day. They were not human. They wouldn't have a bad attitude. They wouldn't, all the things. They would know the difference between a quarter and a nickel, like all of those things, right? And so there are great advantages. But also, we were talking about, like, we've had AI in our house. I mean, what do we think Alexa is? I mean, it's listening,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right?
Honestly, going back to that point though, like thinking about all of the managers who are just going to be managing AI agents, they're going to be losing that people skill because it's very much a skill to be able to manage people, to know when it's their bad day, to be able to say, "Oh, just go take the rest of the day off because your grandmother just died or whatever like is happening in their lives." Like that skill, that interpersonal skill is going to be lost as we're getting more into technology and having them take over these jobs.
Agreed.
Unless people thoughtfully build their companies in a way to still be like human first, but really AI enabled. I mean, people would have to like craft that culture, but you're right. That's going to get totally lost if that's all people are doing.
Hmm. I mean,
And I don't even think that's really like all that fulfilling.
there's a
Well,
McDonald's.
today on
Go
office hours, so every
ahead. Go ahead. You go.
Oh no, sorry. I was just going to say because earlier today, so if you're in Owners Club and you happen to be listening to this every Thursday at 11 a.m., we take turns hosting AI office hours. And I usually just open it up like, did anybody show up here with a burning question that you'd like to ask? And we can start there and just kind of get a feel for whoever showed up, what they're looking to do, and then we dive into whatever it is. And I say this all the time, but I always underestimate the size of the audience that um, isn't using AI or is just starting to use AI. But I will say, in general, back to the psychology of AI or the perceptions and the way that it makes you feel. A lot of people still have an extreme amount of overwhelm, feeling like they're being left behind by all this tech, and then also feeling like like being left behind because maybe other people are implementing it, or to your point earlier, Heather, like you're moving so fast, you're like, am I like this is great that I'm doing all of this, but am I just on a hamster wheel? So I did see that show up. There was, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 people in there today, but I saw it show up in like different places through different questions. And when I just took a bit of a survey on like who's using what, and based on this audience, how can we be the most effective so everybody has value? But I did see that for sure, and I feel like I can continue to see it when we have AI Q&As, or whether we have the office hours. So I'd be interested to hear from everyone else on the things that even whether it's a one-on-one call with intake with a new client for business or whatever, the general sentiment that they're feeling, I would imagine it's probably pretty similar.
For sure.
Jamie, you have a lot of new clients. What do you see?
Um, I don't know. I was reading something else real quick, and then I missed half what she said.
Jamie.
What? Well, DJ Star wants to know on that subject, how are you all staying up to date and getting educated on AI?
Oh my gosh, where are you seeing this? I was looking at a chat.
That's in the
Maybe.
chat on YouTube.
Oh,
Woo.
thanks for doing that. So how do I'll let I mean, I just overconsume. Like I wake up in the morning and I'm making my coffee. I'm always listening to something, but I'll somebody else go and then I'll go last.
I listen to April and what she consumes. And then I also like, so I'm more of a trier than a listener. I like to just get in and try and like test the limits of a certain system. So I'm a little bit behind because it takes me a while, and I like become really married to a system. So it takes me a while to like get into like a competitor of that one system. But that's how I stay up to date, because then I really, really, truly know a system and I can use it to my advantage.
I follow a lot of podcasts and YouTube channels that are usually playing in the background while I'm working. Um, Something catches my eye and I pay attention to it more, and then run into a rabbit hole and try it out for too many days. And that's pretty much how I stay on top.
What's
See,
your
and I
number
don't
one
stay
that you
on
listen
top.
to? One that you're like when they post a video.
I put one in chat earlier,
Okay.
and I'll butcher her name up, but it's Dr. Saba Quadwell. Um, she's one that has Designing Schools, and she's one that talks about the how are we teaching schools to educate the children with the AI.
Hmm.
But everything she's doing is about teaching from the beginning, but she's very up to date on everything new that's coming out. So she's not trying to sell anything, but she's getting into a quick detail of this new product will do this, and tells like why and how it benefits without trying to sell it. So I end up learning a lot from her, and then from there I'll go research something deeper. That's probably the number one that I follow.
Awesome.
For me, I'm
And she
just
has a
using it
podcast and a
in
book
my
and some other stuff.
business. So I'm not up to date. I mean, I'm listening, and I'm listening to all the smart people in this room, and I'm just kind of like applying things to make my life a little bit easier. Like I'm building software, and but I'm not a programmer, right? And so I'm just utilizing what's going to help me to get things done quicker and more efficient and more consistent. Um, and so I think that's the easiest way to get AI or any kind of technology into your life, is just to utilize it to help. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
So
Yeah.
back to the question, Jamie. What you missed was that we were wanting to know what are the clients that are coming to you are wanting, like, are they overwhelmed by AI? Are they wanting to use it more in their business? So they wanted to completely AI their business? What are you seeing?
Most people are wanting to buy back their time.
Hmm.
Like, what can they do to streamline things? What can they do to get more organized? Um, they're usually asking it for all the wrong reasons and trying to organize the wrong spots, but they're trying to solve a problem usually in a smaller area rather than the bigger area. And, but overall, it's just to save time.
Do you think the person that's coming to you more often is somebody who just knows nothing about it, heard it was cool, and they could get leverage, and they just like AI my thing? Are they more of the do it for me or the do it with me type of person that wants to implement?
I get a good cross of both, and it's normally they see or hear somebody else using something, so they feel they have to have the same thing. Um, instead of knowing what they need, they're trying to do something that someone else has, and that doesn't always work. But it's still majority of them don't want to turn the computer on, and then the rest of them, I set them up and I don't hear from them. So there's very little in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that too because there's people in sub two that will just post like, "Oh, I'm getting these amazing results." Like, for instance, a real life example: Ria Campbell posted something about how she has this machine that can gather, like, scrape and gather leads, and it's more for like a B2B situation. But then I have one of my team members who are working with a client. She's like, "Oh, my client wants this now based on Ria Campbell's post." I'm like, "Okay, well, we got to figure out, like, based on her situation, what does that even look like?" Because you got to, like, if you see those results, you have to take like 10 steps back, see how it applies to your business, map it out, see what results you particularly want, because it's never going to be an 100% match. Is it like you can't just get those results on day two of building that? You have to start from the ground up unless you're swiping something from them, which, from my knowledge, most people are selling that, and most people who are wanting that are wanting it for free. So it's a little bit of a disconnect.
And I think that's an excellent point that you bring up because people do see that and they're like, "Oh, I just think I could plug that in my business and have the same results," but they're not, and Jamie, and you can chime in too here on this because I think it would, because Heather and I certainly see this for sure, and you too, Tracy, please chime in if you've noticed this, that people will they're just like, I want to plug this thing in here and have it work in this. Had they done the step back and the mapping up front, how much easier would it be for you to essentially take their order of what they want and figure out if that's the right thing or not? So are they coming to you for any type of strategic guidance, like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do, I don't, or are they just trying to say, hey, give me this thing that scrapes leads, voice calls them, dumps them in my CRM, and then I get,
A
checks
lot
from
of
that.
money. Yeah, you get a lot of money.
Like,
That's kind of
and
what everybody wants, but they don't know they want it. I mean, their original thing is like, how do I send an SMS? How do I, like, a lot of things are very extreme basic that they're stuck on and they're trying to move forward. A lot of people want lead generation. How do I find more leads? How do I do this? How do I do that? And then it's usually it's nothing to do with a goal or nothing they're trying to do in a bigger thing. They're just trying to solve a little tiny problem because somebody else did it.
Yeah. But if they get the leads, do they have the infrastructure and the resources to actually handle the leads, call the leads, follow up with the leads? Because then that's a whole new problem. Then you're
Yeah,
like, my name is out there for not even calling, or whatever.
no, they don't think of any of that. They don't have time to make the phone call on the lead, so they want a bunch of leads to come in, so they don't have time to handle the lead. So then it's a whole nother problem that you got to write the whole thing to do the whole package. But then you get the whole thing built, and it's like, all right. And as an example, the whole thing's built to do wholesaling on residential houses, but they're trying to do multifamily.
Right.
But they saw somebody else doing wholesaling on houses and automation, so they just want that automation running. And it's like, okay,
Exactly.
but then you just took away from what your goal is doing. Like, where's the bigger picture, and how do you narrow that down? And a lot of people miss that from the beginning.
So I think a good piece of advice for everyone is if you're thinking of AIing, or not even just AIing, forget the AI piece, automating anything in general, just think about your entire cycle end to end. What do you want? Because people just don't have, they just are like, I need more leads, I need more leads, I need more like activity, but they don't necessarily think about how end to end, how's that going to go through their ecosystem, and how is the experience going to be, and where's the fall off, where are going to be the failures, what's that going to do to my brand reputation, and is that actually harmful, is it going to cost me more money in the long run, it's hard to get trust back if I'm somebody who doesn't call people back, all of those things. So I think that's probably, people that get really anxious about wanting to implement something to increase like activity and sales and deals, just map that out for yourself end to end. And then what happens is if you come to someone to help you implement something like that, at least they have something to work with, and a lot of the like discovery is done, because whenever you ask someone to do something, doing a bit of discovery and then doing a bit of strategy is so critical. And whether you want to do that yourself or partner with somebody to do that, that absolutely has to be done, whether it's 1 week or 2 weeks of discovery and then 1 week or 2 weeks of strategy, depending on the size of your team and your operation. That's so like mission critical. Like, you'd save so much time and money if, and I think it's, I don't want to get the country wrong, but I think it's the Japanese that do 80% planning and then 20% execution. And then here we're like 20% planning, just the way that we move, just so quick, 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 just our culture. In America is like 20% planning and 80% execution, but then it's not really execution. It's like execution and cleaning up the mistakes and the breaks. We spend all of our time doing that versus having a much more enjoyable experience in the planning phase to make sure that when you go to implement and go live, it's much more enjoyable, hopefully.
Is that like a segue in for Heather?
So I just opened up a new service that solves all of this. It's basically like if you are wanting to take 10 steps back from your business and figure out what is the right path that you should take, then I help you map it all out. And then I figure out what's the execution plan. So somebody on your team or somebody through my implementation partners can execute on and get it right the first time rather than like the fifth or sixth time, because you're having to go back and redo things because it doesn't match your original vision, which was just in your head. It wasn't necessarily in the task for the people who were doing it.
That's most
Yes.
business
Yes.
owners. Most
Because
business
it is
owners
a
never
critical piece.
plan.
Yeah.
They, they don't plan to set. They don't
Yeah.
plan for the end. They
Because they're
don't
in the
plan for
action.
the beginning. They just don't plan. They just don't. That's humans. I mean,
And again, that's kind of what I was saying. So many people come to me. It's they saw somebody else using something that they need to have it, and it has nothing to do with what they really need in their main business.
I like to use my own system.
And just from me being in the management consulting space in a publicly traded company and then also in a smaller boutique firm, is whether it's internal clients or external clients, and regardless of the initiative, that's always a super, super, super important piece. And people really underestimate that. But the person asking is like, yeah, okay, let's just hurry up and get to the thing, right? Like, just let's hurry up and get started on building my thing, whatever it is. So for me, when I do discovery and when I do strategy, and if it's something around talent, right? Talent or AI readiness or whatever, um, often people, and I think all of us have probably had this experience, is people will come and say, I just need an operator. And it's like, well, and then you have a little bit of a discovery or a little bit of an intake, and what do you actually need? And this has happened as long as I can remember in my 20 plus year career, when we get in and I'm like, you're actually asking for 3 people, or you don't know, like, that's not that, like, that's not what that means. Everybody's like, I need a Molly. And Heather and I talk about this all the time, because that's probably one of the most common things that we hear is like, I need a Molly, because I offered to help people, qualify people. And it's like, you need a personal assistant, or no, you need a VA, or no, you need, something else, or you need a bookkeeper, right? Because they want the operator to keep the books, pick up the dry cleaning, do all of the things. And it's like, what? That's not what that is.
Doesn't
But,
the operator hire all those people?
huh?
Doesn't the operator hire all those people?
Yeah, well, operations is clearly, like, operations is operation. Like, I feel like a lot of people don't understand what AI really is. A lot of people don't understand exactly what operations translates to in their business and what that means for them, because it's a little bit different for everyone. And so when you go through and you realize, is your team, are you, and is your team ready for AI? Is it like, because you could, over half of the, just, well, let me just back up a little bit. Just technology projects in general have a pretty reasonable like a pretty good failure rate, just because of the adoption. That goes to your point, Jamie. People ask you to set stuff up, and then you don't hear from them. Are they using it? I don't know. Probably not. So when we've gone in and we've implemented things like ServiceNow or CRM or whatever, 40% of the time it fails because people don't use it, because not enough work is done around, seeing if the team is ready, or the change management and communication that's required to have something really be sticky and implemented. And so, you know, people need to get clarity first, before they need to understand what they want in their business, and then they need to take a look at their people and figure out, are my people AI ready? And if they're not, what do they need? How big of a stretch is that to ask my people to do what I'm actually even going to implement? So you need to engage your team and make sure that they're able. Otherwise, the failure rate's going to be pretty high. And then the AI projects, the failure rate's even higher, because people do exactly what they ask Jamie and Heather to do all the time: implement some system, plug something in, turn this on, have these floodgates come in, and then they realize, oh crap, that agent went rogue. I didn't, I wasn't clear enough with my instructions, or all of these mistakes or whatever. And then they just scrap it. They're frustrated, they wasted money, then they have to go back to the drawing board. And so to avoid all that, so my public service announcement is, to avoid all that, just brain dump, and if you can't strategize, get somebody to strategize with you.
Well, and with my,
Yeah,
I work,
Stuff all pretty.
we do like even just a, a brain dump of like, okay, if you went away for 2 weeks, what are the parts that are going to break down when you're gone? It's a very easy thing to do. Most business owners will know what things are going that are already broken, and then you can identify, okay, what's a quick win. Let's figure out one thing. But sometimes it's just because the owner is the super man of the thing, where they're running all the things, they remember all the things, and they're not doing it perfectly, but they know all the things, and so they think, oh, I can get so and so to help me. They're just in pain. But step one is usually just identifying what would be the one thing that would be a quick win for you, just to move through, and then you work on that one thing, not everything. Don't AI it all. Do a thing to get it off your plate, right? To never have to do it again. Like I did my training manual. We did all these videos, and we spent like a month on it. And so I never have to say, this is how you make a milkshake ever again, because it's recorded. So like those kind of things really help if people think it through.
I think we lost Tracy.
Oh, damn it.
Hello?
I'm back.
She's back.
I'm back. I don't know. Technology loves me. Anyway. Well, I think this has been really fun. Thank you guys so much for indulging me talking about psychology and all of the things that people are worried about, things that people are scared about, things that people think are true that aren't, that you can AI everything, all those good things. I think we kind of like hit on a lot of really interesting topics. And yeah, unless anybody has any closing notes. Oh, I do have, I'm going to put into the notes. There's a free AI summit in a couple weeks with like, it's 3 days worth of things. So if you wanted to learn some things about AI or how it's being used in other people's businesses, it's a good place to at least start and think about how maybe that could apply for you to make your life a little bit easier. Anybody else?
If you want something a little bit more hands-on, April and I are doing a workshop next month in Atlanta, August 9th and 10th, and you can go to aimomentumlab.com to get more information.
Tracy, you said something earlier about getting robots when they come out and have them in your house and all that, and it brought something to my mind.
Yeah.
What year do you think the Jetsons came out?
I think it was recent, wasn't it?
Just to make us feel old.
I mean, we all need a Rosie.
What?
They're like the 50s or something, right?
No, I meant what year was it? What year was it supposed to be?
Yeah, so 100 years later, so 2062.
We'll see.
We're not that far off.
We're not that far off, and almost, besides the flying car and maybe something brushing your teeth, we're almost there.
I don't know. We'll be retired by then, so we'll have to worry about it.
We sure will.
Awesome.
Well, thanks, everyone. If you're in Atlanta, come see us.
All right. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye. Oh, Will isn't here to stop it.
Where's Will?
Uh-oh.
There's nothing like some final bloopers at the end of watching us bumble around all this tech conversation. We can't even stop our live because the guy who's hosting it had an emergency.
Well, I guess we have to keep talking.
So, no, I think I'll just hit leave.
Yes, we can all try that.
Let's hit leave. Let's see if that does it. All right.
Bye.
See ya.